Hello, Trade Talks followers, and welcome to another episode right here from the Nasdaq market site. I'm your host, Lyanne Alfaro, coming to you live from Times Square, New York City today to recognize Latina Equal Pay Day taking place on November 20th. Joining me to talk a little bit more about it is founder of the Latinista as well as diversity strategist right here, Yai Vargas. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you, Lyanne. Happy to be here.
So start by telling us a little bit about what Latina Equal Pay Day is.
Absolutely. So that's exactly right. Today is Latina Equal Pay Day. It's November 20th. So for example, over half a century ago, it became illegal to discriminate when it comes to pay wages. But unfortunately, as women in general, and more specifically, Latinas and women of color, we see a very large pay gap when comparing male wages to female wages. So for example, a Latina worker has to pay all of 2018 and up until this day, on November 20th, to make what a non-Latino white man would make just in 2018. And so that's a huge disparity. We recognize that day today, November 20th.
And so that's 54 cents Latina makes to the dollar that a non-Hispanic white male makes. So let's go ahead and take a look at our first chart here, which shows not only the equal pay day for Latina women, but all women here. It's shown throughout the year how many additional days of the year Asian women, women's equal pay day overall, white non-Hispanic women, black women, Native women would have to work until to make the same amount of money. That's quite the gap. And if we move on to the next chart, we'll also see that a little bit of who Latinas are. They tend to be the breadwinners, but we'll touch on that in just a bit. How do Latinas compare to their peers?
Yes, absolutely. So on a weekly basis, we've seen that Latinas make around $620 compared to their white counterparts. They make around $830 a week. I will add, though, when a Latina is belonging to a union, she makes on average $230 more. So that is positive, but you can see the disparity between a woman of color, Latina specifically, compared to a non-Latina white female worker.
Absolutely, and unions are definitely an important part of the equation as we talk about who the typical Latina worker is. So let's talk a little bit about that. Latinas tend to be overrepresented in low-wage jobs. They also tend to be breadwinners and single mothers as well. So who are they?
That's correct. They are doing it all. They are single mothers. About more than half of a Latina household is a married couple, but about 18% of that is actually a single mother household. And so it's challenging. They literally are doing it all. They are the major breadwinners. They are caretakers. But on the positive note, they are starting incredible amounts of small businesses for themselves.
So let's talk bigger picture here. What are some steps that organizations and we all can take to close this wage gap? I mean, organizations can do a number of things. It's starting with revealing their salaries, right? Not asking for salaries. Actually, in New York, it's illegal to ask salary. I'm not sure that everyone knows that, but could you walk us through what are some steps that can be taken to close this gap?
Yes, absolutely. There are a number of things that organizations and companies can do. And it's one of the things is making sure that they actually publish the salary range. And so, for example, if you're not sure where you fall on the range, how could you negotiate for more? You're not really sure if you're on the lower end or the higher range. And so it's really important that those organizations make it public. Another thing is to do some talks around pay equity and making sure that they tap into each individual person's role every single year and do an audit of their salaries. The third thing that can be done is to stop discriminating about the conversations that go on around the water cooler. And so, for example, if you and I were working at an organization to make it okay and that we wouldn't feel retaliated against if we did share information about how much you're making, how much am I making? And so those are just some of the things that could be done.
So then to that point, let's talk a little bit about negotiation. It goes beyond the salary, right? But for a Latina, I mean, you lead the Latinista, which is all about professional and career development for Latinas. if a Latina, or any woman for that matter, is going in for a salary raise or negotiation of their contract, what are some things to keep in mind?
Yes, absolutely. So the majority of the workshops that we do at the Latinista focus on making sure that you can actually articulate why you're the best person for that opportunity. And going beyond that, it's teaching those individuals to say, let's do a competitive salary analysis. If I'm looking to embark on a new role, what does that role go for on the open market? You should be able to search that information, and there are a number of resources that you can tap into just so that you're aware of the number that's the going rate. So when you go into the conversation, you can have some research and data points available to you. It's also making sure that you're articulating the fact that this role that you're going to do is going to be absolutely imperative because you're unique. And so figuring out what are the unique value probabilities that you bring to the table, and making sure that you say, yes, I am better than every other person that may have the same skills as I do, but being able to have courage around articulating some of those points as to why they should hire you and no one else for that role. And so it's a lot of confidence, trust, research, and making sure that you're really tapped into perhaps a mentor or someone who's had these conversations before. Negotiating courses are so popular nowadays. That's why we embark on that journey. And everyone at every level of their career should always refresh what they know about negotiating skills.
Absolutely. So, Yai, today I'm on Latino Equal Pay Day. Tell us how people can engage online in the conversation, which will be very big on Twitter.
Yes, absolutely. So it's November 20th. The hashtag is Latina Equal Pay. You'll see it all over LinkedIn, all over Twitter, and all over Instagram. Make sure that you're having those fierce conversations with your peers, with other Latina professionals, and just women in general, and seeing how you can help them either attain their next big job opportunity or help them just muster up the courage and the articulation skills that's going to take them to get that new role.
Well, Yai, thank you so much for joining us. Really appreciate your insight and look forward to seeing you out there today for Latina Equal Pay Day.
Thank you for having me.
All right, take care. Nasdaq followers, thank you for joining us on another episode of Trade Talks. Stay tuned for more coverage coming to you right here from the Nasdaq Market Site.